Hey everyone, Neo once again from the Overclocker magazine. So, earlier this year, about a month and a half ago at Computex 2025, I got a chance to visit the MONTECH booth, and amongst the many things that were there to see, what stood out for me was the HSO2 3D, a slightly different take on the HSO2 Pro, which I'm building into in this video. After the great experience I had with the King 95 Pro, I was interested to see what they could deliver with their newer series of cases, and from what I saw at Computex, the HSO2 3D is yet another case offering premium features at an affordable price, which is ultimately what MONTECH is about, at least according to their best value messaging. Fast forward to a week or two ago, and I finally got the opportunity with the HSO2 Pro, a chance to find out what it would be like building into this chassis. To that end, I decided on building a gaming machine featuring the Intel Core Ultra 7 265K, the XPG Mars 980 SSD, the brilliant V-Color Manta XFinity SCC DDR5 8000 memory, the ROG Maximus Z890 Hero BTF, the ROG Strix GeForce RTX 4080, and MONTECH's Hyperflow Silent 360 AIO, all of which would be powered by the MONTECH Century 2 Gold 850W ATX 3.0 PSU. The first thing I decided to do was lay the PC on its side and remove the three primary panels. I then left the case on its side and made ready the Hyperflow Silent 360 AIO, which fortunately comes with the fans attached and cables already connected, thus making it ready to install out the box with the LGA 1851 sockets. Now at first, I wanted to hide the AIO cabling completely, and as such would have the tubing running from the front of the case to the back. However, I found that the fan cables and connectors were getting in the way, and there wasn't enough allowance or clearance at the back of the case to allow this to happen. As such, the mounting holes for the AIO would not align correctly. In all honesty, I wasted a lot of time on this, but eventually I gave up and reversed the cooler orientation, which worked best given the constraints. When this was done, I proceeded to install the PSU, which is actually housed at the front top right, even though power is still through the back of the HSO2. How the HSO2 Pro achieves this is simply through power extension cables. Once the PSU was secured, I moved on to the motherboard, where I had already installed the SSD in the primary Gen 5 M.2 socket. However, I had to remove the bottom mash plate as the board would not fit otherwise. After installing the motherboard, I then moved on to installing the CPU and mounting the AIO block for it. But as always, before any of that can happen, there's always the adventure of installing the mounting backplate. So it was standing the case up again, removing the small panel at the back of the HSO2 Pro, and installing the AIO mounting backplate, securing the panel again, and then dealing with the CPU and AIO block. Fortunately, the Hyperflow Silent 360 has pre-applied thermal compound, so this was fairly straightforward and easy. I then stood the case up again as it was time to deal with the cable connectors at the rear of the Maximus Z890 Hero BTF. Besides the neatness of these boards and form factor, this is probably one of the conveniences of these boards and standard. Getting to all the connectors is simple and arguably quicker than on a traditional motherboard, especially with the two 8-pin EPS connectors, which are usually a pain to reach once the board is installed inside a case. After I connected all the cables, I got to the part of building into the HSO2 Pro I did not appreciate, which was installing the graphics card. So you see, there's a small lip at the top where the riser cards are to be installed. This lip isn't necessary in as far as I can tell, but it does make installing the GPU needlessly difficult, as it requires one to bend or press the motherboard plastic shroud to make sure just enough space is available to install the GPU. This is one of, if not the least appreciated parts about this entire building process. That said, it's likely not an issue for traditional motherboards and other BTF boards without a plastic shroud or a smaller one. Either way, once I installed the GPU, all I had to do was install the 12-pin high power cable, the AIO pump cable, and lastly the V-Color Manta XFinity SCC DDR5 memory with the filler modules. As you can see, there are 4 sticks here, but keep in mind that only 2 are actual UDIMMs. Once that was done, the machine was actually complete, and all I needed to do was put back all the panels, power it on, and let the gaming begin. What you'll notice in the completed build, however, is that I've actually removed the filler DRAM sticks. The reason for this is simply because not every motherboard is able to address these filler sticks, and some boards such as this one with the current BIOS version and software are not able to address it. That aside, the rig still looks great and of course performs exceptionally well, especially when dialed in at DDR5 9000 which the V-color memory is perfectly capable of doing with little to no effort. Overall, barring the GPU installation snag, this is a wonderful case and one that most certainly lives up to MONTECH's messaging about delivering great value in their products. While the products are affordable, nothing about the build materials, quality, presentation, or assembly speaks to the company cutting corners or delivering anything less than what some of the best brands in the market are offering. So, does the HSO2 Pro replace the King 95 Pro as my go-to case from MONTECH? Well, not necessarily. I see them coexisting with each other and serving different needs. However, in terms of innovation and forward readiness, the HSO2 Pro is definitely the superior chassis. Finally, the chassis, AIO, and PSU from MONTECH used in this build are all available at Wootware, and in fact, most of the other hardware is as well, barring the V-color memory. So, overall, I'm pretty happy with this build. I may not have mentioned the built-in fan and ARGB controller this case has, but that's the least of the impressive things about the HSO2 Pro. If you're considering building a new rig or rebuilding with your current hardware into a modern chassis, the MONTECH HSO2 Pro could very well be what you're looking for. And with that said, that's all from me for now, and until the next time, do take care of yourselves and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Peace!